Lucy woke early and made coffee for the two of them before leaving for work. Denny managed to get in a solid hour of writing before he heard the music coming from Abby's room. Thumping, floor-vibrating bass, some kind of hip-hop. It wasn't so long ago that Abby awoke to some sweet, twangy ballad by Taylor Swift or one of her many clones. Now everything she listened to sounded the same. Auto-tuned vocal tricks and rants about being on the floor in the club. 20 minutes later, he was sitting at the dining table reading the Boston Globe and sipping coffee from an oversized white mug that said, "I heart my daddy," in the spindly printing of a 5-year-old. The Y looked like Poseidon's trident. Abby had made it at a friend's birthday party at a clay workshop in Brookline where kids decorated ready-made pieces of ceramic pottery. More than a decade ago, and he remembered it as if it were a few months. Abby emerged from the bathroom in a steam cloud, wearing a bathrobe, hair wet from the shower. She came over to the small kitchen without acknowledging his presence and poured herself a bowl of cinnamon roll frosted mini-wheats, doused it with lactaid milk, and brought it over to the dining table.
"Any left for me?"
she asked as she sat down. "Any what?"
"That."
She pointed at his coffee mug. He grinned. "You're too young to get hooked on caffeine." She slid the pile of mail in front of her and began flipping idly through the envelopes.
"I mean, it's so not a big deal when I sleep over at the Galvins. Selena always makes cafe con leche for Jenna and me."
"Selena's their housekeeper or their cook?"
"Keep up, Dad. She's Jenna's mom."
She picked up the creamstock envelope from Lyman and slid a finger under the flap. He didn't want her looking at the reminder note. No need for her to worry. But he also didn't want to make too big a deal of it, so he said nothing. "Well, you're not at the Galvins, are you?" he said, and he couldn't hide his smile. He'd solemnly sworn, when Sarah and he first saw that whooshing heartbeat on the fetal monitor, never to say all those trite, predictable things that all parents seem to say, like, "As long as you live under my roof, you'll live by my rules," and "because I said so," and "I don't care what the other kids do," and "don't make me stop this car." He put the milk away in the refrigerator, and then he heard a high-pitched sound, a stifled cry, and he whirled around. Abby was holding the Lyman letter in a trembling hand. The paper rattled. Her face had gone pale. "Hey, don't worry about it," he said. "The check's a little late. I have to move some money around." She was crying with an abandon that Danny had seen her do only once before, in the hospital room right after Sarah had died. There was barely any sound, like she was gasping for breath or hiccuping. Her eyes were wide, her mouth open and downturned. She looked almost in shock. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Danny felt his insides clutch. She was overreacting, but he couldn't stand seeing her in pain. "Boogie," he said softly, coming over to her and circling his arms around her shoulders from behind. "Abby, baby, what's wrong?" He glanced at the letter and felt his stomach drop. Even though he glimpsed only fragments of sentences, it was enough to understand. "Regret to inform. Leave us no choice. Immediate payment is received. Abigail's school records. Assist in the transfer to another school." Unless Lyman Academy received $16,000 by 5 p.m. on Friday, 3 days from then, Abby would have to leave the school. He squeezed her tight, her tears scalding his forearm, her chest heaving. "Listen," he said softly yet firmly, "that's not gonna happen, okay?" Then came a rush of words and one terrible anguished sob, most of which he couldn't make out. Just the words, "All my friends," and "Daddy." The shape of her mouth when she'd let out a cry was precisely the same as it had been seconds after she'd been